Howdy guys, Rex here. Today we're going to tear down a sacred cow. Now you know a sacred cow is it's an issue that no one's allowed to talk about, no one's allowed to talk smack about. It's very unpopular. People generally hate to hear about it. People will revile you when you even bring it up. I'm going to talk about the word hero, okay? How it's lost its salt, it's lost its meaning, it's lost its context. I learned a lesson from a World War II veteran when I was in the 3rd grade who happened to be my first boss. He was in the invasion of Normandy. He was a platoon sergeant in a light infantry unit, I believe in the 3rd, under George Patton. And so he was in the hedgerows, invasion of Normandy, a battle of the Bulge, all the French villages, whole 9 yards. Highly decorated individual, 4 Purple Hearts, 2 Bronze Stars, and a Silver Star, and all kinds of other stuff. Like very, very colorful character indeed. He was my first boss. I once made the mistake of calling him a hero. He had killed a lot of Nazis. He told me a lot of the stories because I asked him why he had steel bones in his arms. So I was just waving some guys over, some cover. As a platoon sergeant, he was saying, go ahead, and I took an AP round right to the arm, and it blew up one of his ulnar bone or whatever. So they had to fix that. And, what about your leg? Oh, that was in Gold Beach. I got shot in the leg by a, German machine gun. What about your head? How come you got this big spot on your head where there's this big metal plate, underneath? He's like, oh, that was just German grenade, blew up right next to my head. Kind of hurt a lot, knocked him silly for a while. So this guy was what I considered to be, as a 3rd grader, a war hero. He corrected me on that deal. And he corrected me something fierce. Very sobering. You guys ready for this? This guy was a cool cat, very much a gentleman, and very much, I appreciate, and he's gone now, but I appreciate that he took the time to explain this to me, and he did not hold back any details. He's like, son, I have seen heroes, and I am not one of them. They are rare. Just because you kill a lot of enemy soldiers doesn't make you a hero. Just because you get shot and blown up multiple times does not make you a hero. Just because you might have served in a certain unit, put on a certain uniform, does not make you a hero. See, one of his pet peeves, as a guy who's been through it and had a lot of buddies that didn't make it, even a lot of those buddies, he was pretty clear to say, they weren't heroes just because they died. A hero is a very specific term. A hero is someone who puts himself in absolute ultimate danger, not like halfway danger, not like, oh man, I was scared, like someone who goes into the face of almost like guaranteed death. They go straight into the face of it, knowing they're going to die. And they do die to save other people, and they sacrifice their lives knowingly to save other people. Like someone who throws themselves on a grenade to save all their buddies in the room, that's a hero. That word should not be polluted and mixed up. So one of his pet peeves was, like a lot in the culture, even back then, this is a long time ago, when I was in the 3rd grade, obviously. But the culture was starting to swing towards this kind of like human worship deal. He did not like that. It's like, oh, everyone's a hero now. Like, oh, thanks to our heroes that are teachers. Well, maybe some of them are a hero. Like if there was a, bad guy or a lion that came into the classroom and that teacher frickin' stood there and, gave their lives to protect their kids, then they're a hero. But you're not just automatically a hero because you're a frickin' teacher, okay? You guys will understand the concept. You're not a hero just because you are in the health profession, okay? Unless you knowingly jump on top of something that is going to kill you for sure, not just make you have the sniffles or something like that. That's the perspective that he was trying to make sure I damn well understood, because he wants to preserve that word for the very few who actually, so that when you say it, it doesn't just mean, it's not just ubiquitous. It hasn't lost its flavor. It hasn't lost its punch. When you hear that, you know what that means. Y'all understand? So this is the lesson he taught me. Furthermore, I mean, he told stories about guys that did really bad stuff in World War II that were wearing the same uniform as him. And he sat right in the front row when they hanged their asses. And he was a guy that was not into that. He's like, nah, I don't want to do it. And he heard what the crimes were. And he's like, oh, no, I'm sitting in the front row. I'm going to watch. And so just putting on a certain piece of clothing with a certain thing sewn onto it, does that make you awesome automatically? So this is the lesson. This is the greater foundation of the lesson that he was expounding upon. What is the root of a hero or of a true warrior? We'll even go with that. Are you automatically a warrior just because you signed your name on a piece of paper? No. Are you automatically a warrior because you joined a certain club and put on a pickle suit? Not necessarily. Are you a warrior because you're in an infantry unit and ran around, shooting everything that you saw and doing whatever your job was? Does that make you a warrior? What is a warrior? That's another term that is really, really polluted. Are you a warrior just because you wore interceptor body armor and had a Kevlar and sat on a Mark 19 and just dished out death, from freaking into some grove someplace? Does that make you a warrior automatically? Does it make you a warrior because a rocket flew past your head one time and whatever, blah, blah, blah? And I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I think these terms, it's important for us not to lose the potency of some of these terms. A soldier, okay, but a true warrior in the, I don't know if you want to use an Asian parallel, but in the samurai sense of the word. That's something that can exist in any profession. That's something that can exist wearing any clothes. Any person can have that. The root of a warrior is a person. I was going to say a man, but it can be a woman too. But we'll just go so it's easier for me to communicate. The root of a warrior is a true man, okay? Who has principles, who has ideals that are righteous, principles and ideals that are worth fighting for, that they sign on their life and dedicate themselves to defending those ideals, principles, ideas, and defending the innocent. You understand the concept? People are so external. I put on a freaking pickle suit one time. Am I a freaking ninja all of a sudden? No. Right? You understand the concept? I'm trying to pass on the spirit that of the message that this guy passed on to me. I think it's important in our day and age. It's getting very, very, very loosely thrown around. This term of heroes and warriors and all this stuff. Okay? Now, this is kind of a sacred cow issue. Okay? Not allowed to talk about it. I know. Let's go even further. Are you automatically a tough warrior guy because you went onto a different piece of dirt one time and were in a war zone? Does being present in a war zone wearing a certain color shirt make you a warrior? We already covered heroes before. We know what that is. That's someone who gives their life up to save people when they know they're going to die, and they override that and they die on purpose to save their friends or to save the day, to protect people. The warrior is one notch below that, okay? There's all kinds of dudes that stand around wearing different colors of stuff in a war zone. Does it make him a warrior? No, that's not what makes it. It's what's inside. There's all kinds of dudes that never put on M1981 pattern BDUs and got them all dirty and bloody that are warriors. There's people that work at the freaking gas station that are warriors. There's people that work at the coal mines and the oil fields that are warriors. Did they ever put on a maroon hat because they had jumped out of an airplane. Does jumping out of an airplane with a parachute automatically make you a warrior? Now, a lot of those guys are. But what is the objective of the heart? What is the aim? What is it that constitutes your character? What is it that makes you a man? Okay? Now, I'm pro-America. I'm going to go one notch higher. Let that sink in a little bit. Okay? I know that a lot of people don't like this, but this is going straight off. I'm just following the trajectory where it goes on what this World War II veteran taught to me. Okay? Because he hinted at this in World War II. I'm not gonna spoil the reputation of all the different guys that served in Europe. That was a really bad war, and I appreciate everyone's service. I really do, because we would be speaking German or dead if they weren't over there and won that war. Okay? So I'm not against any of that stuff, and I'm definitely pro-veteran. And I'm even pro-law enforcement, as long as they uphold those standards. But let's take it another step further. Are you automatically worthy of praise and respect and honor because you simply occupied a foreign piece of ground and shot a bunch of dudes wherever they live because you were ordered to? A lot of people might not like that. You know where you're going to hear this message the most? You're going to hear this message the most from combat veterans who have seen actual war. They're going to expound on this more than me. Okay? You know who you're not going to hear this from? You know who's going to virtue signal the most and fight most against the message that this World War II vet shared with me, and that a number of other guys that I deeply respect shared with me? And even through my own observations, I've been around a little bit too. Nothing like some of what they've gone through, but like, I've been around a little bit. I've been in civil war zones or whatever, like, big deal. But like, the people who hate this message the most are your chicken hawks, or your people like the IRA Hayes Syndrome. Remember Ira Hayes? He was in Iwo Jima. They made a song about him. The whiskey drinking Indian Ira Hayes drank himself to death right after coming home from the war because he was in Iwo Jima. All of a sudden he's ordered, hey, help those guys put that flag up on top of this hill. So he put up the flag. He's one of the guys at the statue. Everyone immediately gets smoked by some Japanese machine gunner popped out or whatever happened. And everyone died except for like 2 guys. And Ira Hayes was one of them, right? I forget the exact details of the story. But he was very, 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 very troubled that he was paraded all over as a hero, a war hero. It troubled him so much that he became a raging alcoholic and drank himself to death. Because they put him on all these parades and he's like, I am not a freaking hero, trust me. Like, they sent me to an island that I didn't want to go to. I put up a flag, and then all my buddies got shot, and now I'm a war hero. And he died as a casualty from people misusing the language. That's too bad, isn't it? There's a lot of other people, by the way, and I'll tell you, the demographic, I know a lot of these people. A lot of them. The suicide rates are very high in the veteran community, right? There's a syndrome that I would like to, I don't know if they have a name for it yet, but I'll give it a name. The IRA Hayes Syndrome. Because of everything that the pop culture pushes and the glory of war and the glory of combat and how tough the guy is, they go over there and they go and see this, and they know, because they see it with their own 2 eyes, how it's not even like a real fight, right? In a lot of cases. How it's basically like Godzilla stepping on a bunch of ants, and then they're expected to all of a sudden come home and like have some John Wayne stories to tell, and there was nothing. I don't know what they did. Maybe they wrote something down on a piece of paper. Maybe they like shoveled stuff around in a warehouse. And it's the disappointment and the misuse of certain terms being misapplied in the wrong spots that creates this giant empty hole in the middle of people. That's what kills most of them people. A lot of them will play it off as PTSD, but psychologically, if you study it, and you can even read Lieutenant Colonel, what's his name, Grossman, wrote a book on it. Guys are way more terrified of letting people down than they are of death. And so when they know on the inside that it's all bullshit, and that all these words are being misapplied, and that there are some heroes, but they weren't it, it destroys them from the inside out. Now, I say we honor our veterans, okay? Because it takes a lot of balls to sign your name on a piece of paper and actually give your life over to that cause, okay? But I think that we need to be very careful on the exact language we use, especially when it comes to those things. Because some of those words are reserved. They're like sacred. You don't want to bear false witness. You don't want to take that word and use it in vain, if that makes any sense. Because there are heroes out there. But just slapping on a blue uniform, or a green uniform, or a tan uniform, or whatever the hell it is, or joining a certain club, or going to a certain spot, or having a certain history, or having a certain kill ratio, or having a certain amount of sorties you flew, or whatever the hell it is, that is not what brings honor. Honor is what's in your heart, and you giving everything that you can, every drop of blood, sweat, and tears, to fight ruthlessly for that which you know is right, wherever you are. Whether you are, like I said, a gas station clerk, work at the hotel reception desk, or if you're a freaking, Navy SEAL, or if you're a Green Beret, or if you're a helicopter pilot, whatever it is that you do, you have the opportunity to do that at any time. But the root is not in the position or what's on the outside. It's not on the paint job. I can paint on a freaking Yugo car. Remember Yugo cars before they got blown up by Clinton? I could paint Ferrari on there and put a racing stripe on it. Would that make it all of a sudden a race car? No, it's a Yugo. It's just wearing the uniform of a race car, but it's still a freaking Yugo. You understand? Or you could take a Ferrari, tear off all the emblems, dirty up the paint job, and put Ford Pinto on the emblem. It's pretending to be a Ford Pinto, but it's actually a supercar. So when you're looking at these things, you need to look at the performance, the actions, the direction of those actions, the momentum of that person's heart and where their lives is going. And I think that that's a very discerning point as we go into these times that are going to be trying, where people are going to be accused of either being against warriors or law enforcement or for them based on total erroneous grounds. There are heroes in law enforcement, lots of them, that throw their lives on the line knowing that they are going to die to save somebody. Or firemen. Definitely a lot of heroes there, running into a burning building that is collapsing to save somebody from imminent death. That is a hero. But I can put on a fireman's hat, and that doesn't make me a fireman, and it doesn't make me a hero. That's the lesson, and I know it's hard to take, but that lesson in its entirety of spirit, and I've had that same speech from a lot of other guys too, not just my first boss. Other guys that you probably have heard of that they made movies about. I've heard this from other people, okay? But I wanted to share that with you. Just was on my heart today for some reason. And so, there it is. To all our heroes, and to all our warriors, and to all our veterans and law enforcement, God bless.